The distress beacon pierced through the void of space like a desperate scream. Kalen's small cargo vessel picked up the signal while passing through the Velic sector, a region known more for its emptiness than its activity. She was 3 weeks into a routine supply run, carrying medical equipment and food rations to the outer colonies. The beacon's frequency marked it as a civilian vessel in critical danger. Kalen changed course immediately. 20 minutes later, her ship's sensors showed the wreckage. What remained of the transport vessel hung in space like a broken bird, its hull torn open by what looked like debris collision. The emergency lights still blinked weakly along its damaged frame. Kalen's experienced eyes scanned the readings. Life signs detected. Faint, but present. She maneuvered her ship close and extended the docking tube. The airlock hissed as it sealed against the damaged vessel's emergency port. Kalen grabbed her emergency kit and entered the wreckage carefully. The corridors were dark except for the red emergency lighting. The air was thin but breathable. She moved quickly through the twisted metal passages, following her handheld scanner toward the life signs. The sounds reached her first. Small whimpering cries, frightened and weak. Kalen pushed through a half-open door into what appeared to be a family quarters. The scene made her heart stop. That a Rithari female lay on the floor, her large furred body still and cold. The Rithari were a proud species, bipedal with thick fur and powerful builds. This one had clearly been dead for hours. But pressed against her body were 4 small cubs, no bigger than human toddlers. They huddled together, their tiny bodies shaking with fear and cold. One of them, slightly larger than the others, lifted his head as Kalen approached. His golden eyes were wide with terror, but he positioned himself between Kalen and his siblings. His small lips pulled back to show tiny fangs as he made a weak, growling sound. "It's okay," Kalen said softly, kneeling down slowly. "I'm here to help." The cub, Vash, she would later learn his name, didn't move. His protective stance remained firm despite his obvious weakness. Kalen recognized the signs. These cubs were starving and dehydrated. Without help, they wouldn't survive another day. She sat down on the floor, making herself smaller and less threatening. From her pack, she pulled out a water container and a nutrition bar. She broke off a piece and held it out, not moving closer. "You need food," she said gently. "Please, let me help your brothers and sisters." Vash's nose twitched. His eyes darted between Kalen and his siblings. The other 3 cubs were barely moving now, their breathing shallow. Time was running out. Kalen placed the food and water on the floor and slowly slid them toward the cubs. Then she backed away several feet. "Take it," she whispered. "Please." Vash watched her for a long moment. Then, keeping his eyes on Kalen, he reached for the water container. He sniffed it carefully before taking a small drink. The water seemed to give him strength. He turned to his siblings and helped them drink, his small paws surprisingly gentle as he supported their heads. Kalen felt tears forming in her eyes. This little one was trying so hard to be brave, to protect his family even when he was just a child himself. "Your mother was very proud of you," Kalen said softly. "I can see that, but you need more help than you can give them alone. Will you let me help? Will you trust me?" Vash looked at his mother's body, then back at Kalen. Something seemed to break in his small face. He made a sound, something between a cry and a whimper. Kalen understood. He was just a child carrying a weight too heavy for anyone, let alone someone so young. "I know," Kalen said, moving forward slowly. "I know you're scared, but I promise I will protect you. All of you, just like your mother would have wanted." She reached Vash and held out her hand. The cub looked at it, then slowly placed his small paw in her palm. His fur was soft and warm. Kalen felt the trembling in his small body and carefully pulled him into her arms. Vash resisted for only a moment before collapsing against her, exhausted. The other 3 cubs were unconscious. Kalen checked their vital signs. Weak, but stable for now. She wrapped them carefully in emergency thermal blankets from her kit and carried them one by one back to her ship. Vash refused to leave her side, walking close to her legs during every trip. Once aboard her vessel, Kalen laid the cubs in her small medical bay. She started 4 fluids for the 3 youngest ones and wrapped them in heated blankets. Vash sat on the edge of the medical bed, watching everything with those serious golden eyes. "You did good," Kalen told him as she worked. "You kept them alive until I found you. That took real courage." Vash looked up at her and made a small sound. His stomach growled loudly. Kaelin smiled and went to her food stores. She prepared a warm meal of protein paste and vegetables, something gentle enough for a starving stomach. She sat beside Vash and offered him a spoon. This time, he took it without hesitation. Over the next 3 days, Kaelin nursed the cubs back to health. The youngest ones recovered slowly but steadily. Vash never left his sibling's side except to eat or sleep. Even then, he stayed close. Kaelin learned that Rithari cubs were naturally bonded to their mothers until age 5. Losing her like this would cause deep trauma, but something else was happening. Vash began following Kaelin everywhere. When she worked on ship repairs, he watched. When she cooked meals, he helped in small ways. When she slept, he curled up near her door. The other cubs began responding to her voice, reaching for her when they were scared. Kaelin contacted the Rithari embassy and explained the situation. The response came quickly. The cub's mother had been a widow, traveling to join relatives on a distant colony. Those relatives were contacted, but they lived 6 months away by standard transport. The embassy asked if Kaelin could care for the cubs until arrangements were made. She looked at Vash, who was currently teaching his youngest sister how to drink from a cup. The little cub giggled as water dripped down her chin. Vash looked up at Kaelin and made a happy chirping sound. Yes, Kaelin said into the communicator. I can take care of them. She would keep them safe. She would be what they needed until their family could take them home. Because that was what humans did. They protected those who couldn't protect themselves. They cared for the young and the vulnerable. Not because it was easy or convenient, but because it was right. Vash climbed into her lap as she finished the call. He looked up at her with those golden eyes and placed his small paw on her hand. No words were needed. The message was clear. Thank you for saving us. Kaelin held him close and whispered, always.